Donald Trump just gave one of the worst interviews of his entire presidency to Kristen Welker, and that's for a couple of reasons. The first is because he showed how deranged he is with his willingness to invade Greenland, which he admitted to, also admitting that he does not care about the impact of his tariff plan, which, as we have seen in recent reports, he knows is raising prices. The third reason that it was so terrible is because he clearly had a cognitive episode when asked about Signalgate, the scandal that has been plaguing his administration for the past week. We're going to get into it all. It was shocking, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into this most recent interview with Trump and Welker, I feel like we have to hear one of the most important moments from his last one, and this clip right here. So I felt like it was only fair to start with that clip of Donald Trump saying what I believe to be the truth. He did win the last election because somehow he managed to convince people that he could lower prices. Now, I use the word convince people because obviously that was never going to be the truth, and it was just a lie, as Donald Trump is responsible for and openly admitting to when he was asked about his tariffs, as we can see right here. No concern if automakers raise their prices. The president said he couldn't care less if automakers raised prices after he announced he would impose 25% tariffs on all foreign-made automobiles. Asked what his recent message was to motor industry CEOs and whether he had warned them against rising prices, Trump said, "The message is congratulations. If you make your cars in the United States, you're going to make a lot of money. If you don't, you're going to have probably come to the United States. Because if you make your car in the United States, there is no tariff." When pressed if he told CEOs not to raise prices, as reported in the Wall Street Journal, Trump added, "No, I never said that. I couldn't care less if they raise prices, because people are going to start buying American-made cars." Trump continued, "I couldn't care less. I hope they raise their prices, because if they do, people are going to buy American-made cars. We have plenty." Asked if he was concerned about car prices going up, Trump said, "No, I couldn't care less, because if the prices on foreign cars go up, they're going to buy American cars." After the interview, an aide to the president followed up with NBC News to say that Trump was referring specifically to foreign cars. NBC News reported earlier this week that foreign auto parts would also be taxed at 25% if the vehicles go into or assembled domestically. Companies that import vehicles under the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement will get special consideration until the government establishes a process for levying the 25% duties, according to the White House. Until that time, USMCA-compliant auto parts will remain tariff-free. The president also said the tariffs would be permanent. So quite a bit to unpack in that first section of the interview on tariffs, but one thing is clear. Donald Trump understands that he is going to hurt American consumers and clearly also does not care. Not a shock that Donald Trump, the out-of-touch billionaire, does not care, but he also clearly doesn't understand that even if a vehicle is made in America, there are lots of parts from across the world, and you can't just spring up manufacturing plants to make those parts in the couple of weeks leading up to your tariffs. Donald Trump understands that. And again, he clearly doesn't care. He said he hopes prices go up. Just absolute insanity for Donald Trump, which we continue to see when he was talking about Greenland. And of course, we are going to close with the cognitive mess on Signal. Everything is on the table to obtain Greenland. The president on Saturday also said he absolutely had real conversations about annexing Greenland, which is currently a semi-autonomous Danish territory. "We'll get Greenland." "Yeah, 100%, Trump said. He added that there's a good possibility that we could do it without military force, but that "I don't take anything off the table." So groceries, rent, cars, gas, all more expensive, and we're spending our money invading Greenland? For what benefit? In what way? And I love actually when you ask this question of MAGA, what's the benefit? And do you know what they say? This is what they tell you. "Well, it's an important piece of territory for our national security because Russia and China." What about the country right next to Russia called the Ukraine? Might that relationship be important for national security? No? Okay, fine. This is a deranged man, and we can clearly tell that, especially with the deterioration in this piece of the article right here. Trump said he has no plans to fire anyone following news that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz added a journalist to a Signal app group chat with senior members of the Trump administration who were discussing plans to strike Houthi militants in Yemen earlier this month. I don't fire people because of fake news, not fake, and because of witch hunts, Trump said, calling the story fake news throughout the interview. I do, the president said when asked whether he still has confidence in Waltz and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who also in the Signal chat and sent a detailed timeline of the planned strikes before they happened. I think it's just a witch hunt, and the fake news, like you, talk about it all the time. But it's just a witch hunt, and it shouldn't be talked about, Trump added. We had a tremendously successful strike. We struck very hard and very lethal, and nobody wants to talk about that, quite frankly. And they want to talk about is nonsense. It's fake news. Trump's comments come as he faced calls, including from his allies, to fire Waltz. Trump also said, I have no idea what Signal is. He said, I have no idea what Signal is. I don't care what Signal is. All I can tell you is that it's just a witch hunt, and it's the only thing the press wants to talk about, because you have nothing else to talk about, because it's been the greatest 100-day presidency in the history of our country. Okay, I repeated that line twice because I think it's the most important part of this interview, and I think it demonstrates Donald Trump's cognitive episode right there. He doesn't know what Signal is. He doesn't know what Signal is. It is all we've talked about it. You've been asked about it. You've responded to questions about it relating to what was shared in the chat. How can you talk about all week a secure messaging platform that was or was not used, be asked numerous times about it, and not know what it is? Now, you could say that he was pretending and he did know what it is, or he was never informed and he's just dumb. But no matter what, Donald Trump clearly does not have a grasp of what's going on in his own administration. People either don't trust him, he doesn't remember, or he doesn't understand. None of those three options are good, and they demonstrate that his brain is broken. Remember when Donald Trump was asked whether he signed the Alien Enemies Act and you said it was Marco Rubio? That was a lie. Remember when Donald Trump was asked about 4 service members who were found dead in Lithuania? He said, I don't know. Does he know anything? Is he completely gone up there, or are those around him recognizing he's too stupid to need to know? Those are the questions that we're asking of our president. Insanity. This is the guy who promised that his amazing brain was going to be able to make things cheaper for you. But what he's really doing is just allowing us to get screwed by companies, kind of, I guess. And speaking of Donald Trump's inability to keep important manufacturing at home, Sheldon Whitehouse went off on a similar point. This clip right here.
Because one of the keys to the Republican tax scam that is being cooked up right here in this Congress is giving big corporations the ability to move their profits and even their jobs offshore, away from America, and get a tax break for doing that. And the total value of this tax break, the award to big corporations from Republicans for moving American jobs and profits offshore, is running at about $140 billion that other taxpayers are going to have to make up. Big Pharma is the big winner in this offshore tax scam. If you look at Big Pharma's numbers, most sales are to U.S. patients. They sell their pharmaceutical products to Americans. But when you look at their financial reporting, 75% of their profits are declared as coming from outside of the United States. So you got some funky math going on here, because we know that Americans are charged more for Big Pharma's drugs than people are overseas. They overcharge Americans. Americans pay the highest prices, and most of the sales are going to Americans who are paying the highest prices. So how is it that when most of their sales are going to Americans who are paying the highest prices, that's not where the profits are reported? The profits are reported from overseas where they have fewer patients paying lower prices. How does that work? That works S-C-A-M, scam. And that's what the Republicans in Congress are trying to push forward into the future. Thanks to the terrific work of our chairman, we have some specific examples. The Republican tax scam went into effect in 2017. So they had to move pretty quickly. So we're looking at now 2019. How quickly did pharma enjoy the benefit of this tax scam at Americans' expense? Well, AbbVie is one company. In 2019, it declared 3/4 of its profits, 3/4 of its sales to American customers, and essentially all of its profits offshore. They charged, as pharma does, they charged Americans the highest prices, and they sold 75% nearly of their drugs to those highly priced American customers, and yet they claimed that all of their money came from the small fraction of their sales that they made at lower prices offshore. Again, S-C-A-M. Who gets hurt? Well, who gets hurt is American workers, because very often the jobs go offshore along with the profits. So an American worker loses his job so that an American company can move that job offshore and pay some foreign person for the work that should be here, and gets rewarded by Republicans in Congress for a tax break for doing that. Who else gets hurt? Small businesses get hurt, because if you're running a small business, you can't set up this elaborate tax scam. You don't have the accountants, you don't have the lawyers, you may not even have the nasty motive to try to cheat your own government this way. So small businesses take it in the neck against the big businesses who can dodge their taxes through this complicated scam. And even some big American domestic companies like Rhode Island-based CVS, who are an all-American company, who don't fake their profits to be coming from Bermuda or the Cayman Islands or Singapore or wherever else.
Oh, God, it's just all so bad. It's so bad. Oh, my gosh, it's so bad. I just really can't anymore. These people are ridiculous. Like, Republicans in Congress talking about bringing American manufacturing back home. They can't even keep the tax dollars that should come from American companies because they don't care. They don't care. Trump doesn't care that your price of your car is going up because of tariffs. And he doesn't care that big corporations are getting away with tax scams. Of course he doesn't. What a shock. That just means we got to call it out, which is what we're doing on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.